Yes.
Hello.
Yes,
So can you
Vishal.
hear me?
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So, so good evening, guys. Good evening to everyone. Good evening, Next Genius community, and to all the students out there. I hope you all are doing good and you all are safe. Uh, Places, this quarantine, right? And hope you all are safe and I guess all are very tensed about what's going to be next. And well, for me, it's going all fine. It's all very good. Thanks to Next Genius and also TCU. And uh, good evening, Chair. Sorry. It's good morning, right? So good morning, Karen, and also we also have Nicole, Mrs. Nicole uh, from yeah from Union College. Yes.
Union College.
So good evening, everyone, and it's a privilege to be talking uh, as a panelist and also as a Next Genius scholar with all the students out here. And it's really a great privilege and great honor. Everyone doesn't get the chance to, influence many students or influence or guide students, and it's a privilege and it's a honor for me because I got the chance to guide you, and I got the chance to share my experiences, share my journey with you. So for that, I thank Next Genius. And coming to how I got to know about this Next Genius scholarship program. So one day I was just walking by my counselor's cabin, and that is Venkat sir, and he just called me and he just explained me about this Next Genius scholarship program. So it was he just explained me that it's a foundation where they provide scholarships to students to all the students over India, and you will have to give an online test. Then you will be selected for a college. You will be given a college. Then you will go to an interview, and there, based on your performance, based on your biodata and everything, based on everything, they are going to give you scholarship. It can be either a full scholarship or it can be a partial scholarship. So this was what I was initially told about the Next Gen scholarship program, and I was really excited because I thought that it is the chance, it is the opportunity for me. It's the opportunity for me to fulfill my dreams of going abroad and having a good education at a very prestigious university. So it was an opportunity for me. So because it was a great opportunity for me, I was like, I'm going to just get it. I'm going to get the college. And I rushed home and I just went into the Next Genius website, and I started, doing some research on what's what is it all about. So I found out that we are going to have an online test, and I was like, what's going to be the online test? What's the online test all about? So do I have to prepare for calculus, or is it kinematics? What is it? What is it? I was just searching. Then, so impressively, I found out that it's about logic. It's about reasoning, and they just send me a PDF with all the questions, with many questions of you know from which we can base our online test. And the questions in that PDF were so great, so great. I mean, I loved solving all those questions. They were so interesting. They were amazing. They were just amazing. So I just started solving them, and I felt it like fun. It was fun for me. So then I I just enjoyed solving that. Then I had to give this online test, and online test was great. I completed it in time, and I was able to submit the test. And I was really, very nervous. And many of my classmates also gave this online test, and everyone were nervous. So because it is something which can decide your future, right? So I was very nervous and also very excited about joining this Next Genius community. And the idea behind this Next Genius community is great. I mean, this program is great. I mean, I don't come from a family which can afford to pay the total uh, tuition fees for a university. So for me, it was a great deal. For me, it was a great deal. I mean, getting scholarship was a great deal for me. So getting a scholarship was important for me. So I and the test went well. The online test was great for me. It was all good. So after some 2 or 3 weeks, we got the results, and I was shortlisted. I was shortlisted for the program. So after I was shortlisted, I was like, man, I thought, out of many people, being able to shortlisted, it was a great deal for me. So I was very happy about that. And we just celebrated. I just celebrated that moment. The moment when I got the mail from Next Genius that I've been shortlisted, I celebrated the moment, and it was great. It was great. I still remember the time, what all I did, everything. I remember everything. So it was great. So what? So next, it was my chance. I was asked to give my preferences, my college preferences, what college I prefer, and the Next Genius would give me the best choice. I mean, based on my academics and based on everything that I did, they're going to they were going to give me the best college that suits me. So, and yes, I got the best college I could ask for. I got the best university I could ask for. It was Texas Christian University, of course. So that was great. That experience was great. Then they gave us some time. We had to pay refundable fees. So they gave us some time to pay that fees. They gave us some 1 day to accept the offer, and I didn't even waste 1 minute. In in less than 1 minute, it was over. I just confirmed that thing, and next it was my time to write give a college application, complete a college application, and I did it on Common App, and you can do it according to your college. So you're guided to a WhatsApp group, an Genius Texas Christian University WhatsApp group, about the steps we have to take, and everything was instructed there. So then after we were instructed about all those things, then our next step was to complete the application. So I did that. It was great. And I am assuming that most of you are from Fitzy, right? From Fitzy Junior College, Vijayawada. So, you know, we have a counselor, Venkat sir. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing person. So he helped me through all that, and it was all great. It was all going so great. It was all going so well. And my next uh, after I completed my application, it was all over. It was very good until the 10th of January. Why wasn't it good after that? It's because all the tension I had, because on 11th of January it was my interview day. It was my interview day, and I was really nervous and really excited as well. It was a mixture of both excitement and nervousness. Why excited? Because I was going to meet many brilliant minds from across the country. And why nervous? The same, because I was going to meet many brilliant minds across the country. I think you get it. I mean, I was excited because I could meet many brilliant minds, and also nervous because I had to compete with them. I had to, you know, uh, go through them to get the scholarship. So I was really nervous and really excited at the same time. So, uh, so on 11th, we reached Mumbai, and I still remember in the morning, my dad came to me and said, "Hey Vishal, so are you ready for the interview? I mean, do you have to prepare anything for the interview, like anything like taking a mock interview, anything like that? Is there anything that you need to prepare?" And I was like, "Oh, Daddy, I'm very tense. I don't know. I mean, they just said that it was going to be a group discussion, but I don't know what the interview actually is. I don't know what they're going to ask. I don't know what it's going to be like, and I don't know how the people are going to be like. I don't know nothing, and I was so tense. But then my dad said me, just be confident and just be yourself, and that was the thing that which I followed. So what I did next was I just took my phone and I was really nervous about what they're going to ask in the interview. So I just took my phone and I googled, interview questions. I googled interview questions, and there were some interview questions which are mostly asked, because I was so I because it is a great deal for me. So I just went through all the questions, and the questions were like, what they were like, what is your greatest weakness? What is your greatest weakness? I mean, why would I say what is my greatest weakness? I mean, that doesn't make sense. And they were like, what, where would you be in the next 3 or 4 years? And I was like, I would be in a college. I would be maybe graduating from a college or something like that. What do I answer? So I just kept my phone aside. I was like, no man, I'm not doing anything like this. I'm just going to attend the interview. As my dad said, just be yourself. I'm just going to be myself. I'm just going to uh, do it in a flow. So that evening, on 11th evening, we were in Mumbai, and we had a meeting. We had a seminar in JW Marriott. So we attended there, and the Next Genius community welcomed us. The staff, they guided us to my place. I mean, to Karen and Heat Einstein. So we went there, and just as I saw them, I met that was the first time I met uh, Miss Karen in person, and she was like, she just stretched out her hand. Hey Vishal, how are you? How are you doing? Good evening. She was like, and I was like, well, I mean, how does she even know my name? I mean, yes, I did submit my application, but there are many people, and she just recognizes me from my face. And I was really impressed, and I was shocked as well. I mean, I didn't expect that from a director of admission. So I didn't really expect that from a director of admission. So she came to me, she was so friendly, and I was actually, till then, I was trying to make myself comfortable with the atmosphere there. But as I went there, both Karen and Einstein, they tried their level best to make me feel comfortable with them. So it was so great experience. I got to meet all the students there from different colleges, and it was great. That evening was great. Then we went to a seminar where we were explained about about our college, about the college experience, about everything about my college. We were given a seminar, and we were given a demo about our college. And that's when I really fell in love with my university. I really fell in love with my university, and it was great. It was great experience for me. So that evening was over, and I was just, now again I was nervous, because next day is the main day. I mean, next day is, I had the main interview on the next day. So what happened next was, next day we got up early in the morning. We went to that place, and then we were guided, after registering our names there. We were guided to our interview rooms, and again they greeted me very well. They greeted me, then they gave us our seats, and I thought it would be something like very serious discussion will be going on, or I thought maybe everyone will be asking us questions and we need to answer them seriously. I thought it is going to be very, educational type, I mean academic type, or something like that. I just thought it would be like that. But surprisingly, it was nothing like that. We went inside, and we were instructed about the interview. And then the next thing we did was, we were given free time for, like 10 minutes or so. We were asked to just uh, meet people, to get to know your, I mean, the other students which are who are there. We were just asked to, get to know about them, learn about their hobbies, know their interests. And those 10 minutes, it was not at all like an interview. I got to make friends. I got to make friends, and I made many friends in that 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes were enough to make friends. And we made friends in those 10 minutes. Then we were given some activities. We played, we enjoyed, we laughed, we discussed about many things. It started from something like, what would you do when you go to a moon? It started with a question like that, and ended with Netflix. Seriously, it ended with Netflix. What shows do you watch on Netflix? We seriously discussed that in an interview. And there was Ita Einstein, and he was giving his list of all the shows he watched on Netflix, and it was great experience. Just And then the interview was over, and I was like, seriously, is that it? Is that it? And the interview was over. We all were having fun, and because we all became friends during that interview, we even created a WhatsApp group. We still have that WhatsApp group. We post our memes, and we just had fun during the interview. It was nothing like an interview. You don't have to, get tense. You don't have to be nervous. It's nothing like, a serious interview. It's just fun. It's totally fun. You just present your thoughts. You have to be yourself. You have to be confident and just show yourself. So when so we completed that, then we had our lunch, and we enjoyed with our friends there. We met many people and we had lunch. We enjoyed the time there, and then it was time for results. So we were taken to a hall. The results were being projected on the projector screen, and it was one college after another. So each college, the students who were selected, the names were being displayed. So finally, it was my turn. It was Texas Christian University's turn. They displayed the name, and in all those names, I could only see my name. And just after I saw my name on that list, I cannot explain you the joy which I felt. I being selected out of all those people, I was overjoyed. And I with along with my friends, we rushed into the interview room back. Then we were all congratulated. We were given many gifts, and yeah. I forgot. During the interview, we were also given gifts for answering to the questions. Like I was given this thing, looks cool, right? TCU. I was given this thing, and this keychain. See how cute it looks. It's a frog. So we were given. So I'm just showing this to you because I'm just trying to explain you what it's like to be in the Next Genius interview. So the whole point about Next Genius is it doesn't only base your marks. I mean, you don't need to have, your marks don't decide your marks don't completely decide your future. Nor does your financial status decide your future. Nothing like that. It's all based on you. What actually decides is you yourself on a whole decides whether you are going to get the scholarship or not. So the main tip that I would give you is just to be yourself, be confident, in everything you speak. Just don't fake it, just be yourselves. So coming to now what's going on now in this situation, in this pandemic situation. What so many people are like, tensed about their college, about what college they're going to go. And it's not the same for me. The Next Genius staff are very supportive. The college, the university is very supportive. They are conducting seminars. They are helping us out. They are making us feel so comfortable. And in my case, I'm going to stay here in my fall semester, taking classes online, and I'll be going there in January. So this is everything I wanted to say. So this is all. This is how everything is going for me. So it's all great. Just trust me, be yourself, and you'll do great. And see, now for you, I'm sitting just a year before, I was sitting in your place, and there was someone else in my place explaining all these things. And I wish that the next year, someone from you is going to sit in my place, and your genius will be sitting in your places. So just look out for that day. Just keep looking for that day and just be yourself. That's all. Thank you.
Superb, Vishal. You actually took us through the whole journey, and your vivid description. Actually, I was again just living those days and just visualizing everything. Superb, great description, Vishal. Thank you so much. So, moving on, I would now invite Nicole to talk about engineering programs at Union and how the experience of studying at engineering at a small liberal arts is. Nicole.
Thank you, Devesh. So I'm actually going to share my screen to just give everyone a little bit of a picture of. So this presentation actually is a picture or a presentation that's put together by our engineering community. So I just want to make sure, Devesh, you disappeared on me. So can everyone hear and see okay this
Yes,
presentation?
it's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So Union College is unique in that it's an all undergraduate liberal arts and science college, founded in 1795, 2,200 students. And as I said, all undergraduate. The unique thing for us, and there are just a few of us in the United States that also have full programs in engineering. So Union actually established its engineering program in 1845. So before a little school called MIT actually had engineering, Union had established its program as a valuable part of our curriculum. The degrees that we offer at Union are listed here: bioengineering, computer, electrical, and mechanical. We also have quite a few students who focus on minors that I'll share with you later. And students from India, most often what we're seeing, students gravitate towards the engineering fields at Union. Computer science. We have an astrophysicist who is at Union right now, one of our Next Genius Scholars. We have students interested in the neurosciences, but most often we see our students from India gravitating towards one of our engineering programs. So one of the first questions I often get is, it's a small school. What are the offerings? Is it really as robust as a large Research One institution? And the first thing I would say is I'm going to run through just a few examples of what happens in our different engineering majors and what we focus on. And my answer to that is yes. The depth of our programs and our majors goes just as deep as any large engineering program as it has to. Our program is an ABET, which is the Certification for Engineers certified program, which means that our students after 4 years, which they're with their Bachelor's of Science degree, are certified, ABET certified, to work as engineers in the field. So there's no additional requirement for students to go on to study for engineering for them to be able to work within their field of study. Some students do go on for master's programs, and I'll share later, we do have cooperative programs where students can participate and get a Bachelor's of Science and a master's program in engineering at the same time, but it's not needed. Our students are fully certified to work as engineers when they leave. The thing that I love about Union is that when our students first come to campus, they might have an idea of what engineering means. And oftentimes within their field, they think they know which direction they want to go. But through the process of our first course at Union that's required of all of our engineering interested students, they sort out, they have a chance to meet all of our engineering faculty and our different disciplines, and then they have an opportunity to take what is our Exploring Engineering course. So you work within all of our different engineering majors to learn a little bit more about what's available in our lab spaces, what sorts of careers are available in that major once you graduate. So it makes it clear what type of thing you might want to study within engineering and gives you a clearer path of what direction to go. Now, again, our students are in a Research One level lab. So we're rated top 10 for our engineering and science labs. And I'd say remembering that our students are in an all undergraduate setting. What this means is from your very first class, like I said, that Exploring Engineering class, you are in the lab spaces that are typically graduate level research spaces. So for our students, you don't have to wait until your graduate program or even your upper level of study to access those research labs. You begin in your very first class with Research One level lab experiences in that first Exploring Engineering class. Once you have experience in that lab, you have an opportunity then to create and design your own research, whether it's your first year on your own, and professors will help support you in how to discover and develop that research, or if you want to work with our professors on their research and their professional labs. Students are welcome to both of those programs. Officially, students during the summer can apply for research grants as well, and work with our professors during the summer on their research, both on campus and around the world. Your second year, students have the sophomore research seminar. So that's required of everyone to begin your research process and to help support you through how do you design a research process? How do you begin to set forth and seek funding? So that second year really establishes for everyone an opportunity to work on research. The third year, you dig depth into your major. So how far deep can you go in terms of what you want to study? Focus your experience on where you see yourself going, both for research and after union. Fourth year, you create a capstone project that you present, and the capstone project goes to a professional symposium, either on our campus or around the US, where students present their research findings to other professionals in the field. And that symposium is held on our campus as well in a rotating basis. So that sounds all pretty familiar in terms of what you'd expect for an engineering program, except for the fact of the close interaction with our PhD level professors from your very first class. There's no graduate students. On average, our classes are between 15 and 20 students, and our labs are typically 3 to 5 students when you're having a lab with your class, which all engineering classes do. The other unique thing is students in our engineering program at a liberal arts and science college can choose double majors, they can choose minors, they can choose opportunities outside their discipline. So whether you wanted to combine with computer science and engineering, which is pretty common, or students want to pursue something like economics or anthropology or music, you have the opportunity to either just take courses outside of your discipline or minor or major, which is incredibly unique in an engineering program. And that is why we find our students really looking to the liberal arts colleges as well, to really make them much more marketable when they leave our campus, so that you don't just have an engineering degree, but you have all these other experiences that make you even more marketable and interesting and successful in your career. So that interdisciplinary study is important. The other thing, what you'll find is that in your lab spaces, they'll really reflect real world labs. So it's not just engineers working together, but what you'll find is that you have chemical professors in there. You'll have professors from Latin American studies or environmental studies that are working with you in your lab spaces to think about the work that you're doing and the products that you're making or the research you're creating and how that integrates into the real world where you're applying what it is that you're creating and using what you're making. Your faculty are innovative. They are still producing and publishing and presenting their research worldwide. And students, again, will have the opportunity not only on our campus to study engineering, but our students, about 70% of our engineering students go abroad elsewhere to study engineering and to dig into their topics even further. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant minors on campus for students to grow their experience and augment what it is that they enjoy about engineering. And here are just some pictures of our research. At campus for students, Union ranks one of the top in terms of its awards for National Science Foundation grants. So not only are we rated very highly for top 10 for our facilities, we just expanded to a $100 million expansion of our integrated science and engineering facilities. We also receive a large portion of the National Science Foundation grants to support our faculty and our students in the research that they're doing. So I think what I'll do is end there. This is some of our fun clubs and organizations that students participate in that are variously engineering focused. So not only in the classroom, but in terms of extracurricular activities, our students really do participate outside the classroom in terms of the things that they're interested in and the competitions they like to pursue. And I'd say that the great thing about that is, again, those clubs and organizations are open to you from your very first day on campus. You do not have to wait for an opportunity to join based on limited enrollment allowed. So for our students in a small campus, they really have full access to all of those opportunities right away when they come to campus. In regards to graduation, like I said, our engineers are fully employed before they even leave campus, typically through their experience. This is just a sampling of some of the companies our students go on to work for, or graduate schools that they go on for programs too. So I think I'll end my presentation there and turn it over to my dear friend and colleague, Karen.
Thank you, Nicole. I found that actually quite interesting. I learned a lot. Thank you. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about the differences between going to a small liberal arts college versus a large public university versus something that's in between, which is what TCU is. We are, if you're considering private universities, we are considered to be a large private university. We enroll about 11,000 students. The interesting thing, though, our mix of students is a little bit different than you might find at some of our peer institutions. Many other universities that are in our size range have very large graduate programs, which can sometimes overshadow undergraduates. And I find that particularly to be the case in a lot of science programs. If you think of, some of the most famous tech universities, oftentimes those universities have so many graduate students that you really don't get that personal touch that Nicole was talking about. But at TCU, again, we're mostly undergraduates. So in the sciences, you're going to get many, many opportunities to work closely with faculty in the labs. But in terms of specifically engineering, I wanted to just briefly tell you what our model is like, because sometimes it's misunderstood. So at our university and other universities you may find, we have a general engineering degree. It's a Bachelor of Science in Engineering with 2 emphasis areas, electrical and mechanical. And sometimes students think that, oh, well, it must not be good because you don't have a BS in electrical engineering specifically. And I'll tell you how our program started. Was initially, we were too small when we started many years ago to offer a BS in a specialty such as electrical or mechanical. So it was just a general degree. And then shortly thereafter, we had enough faculty, enough students where we could offer the specialty. And we actually, on the advice of our board of advisors, which was made up of CEOs of major engineering firms, they said, no, keep it general, because it's actually a very marketable degree. The reason being that our students are cross-trained in both disciplines of electrical and mechanical. They have their specialty, but they're going to be cross-trained. And in the real world, in many engineering firms, most probably, you're working in teams. And if you can, talk or speak both languages, if you will, that's going to be quite attractive to an engineering company, especially if you're looking at employment in some of the smaller engineering firms. If you can wear multiple hats, that's very attractive to employers. So, in our hearts, we felt like we wanted to keep that broad engineering focus. You're still able to get into graduate programs, specialty programs in either electrical or mechanical. So that's all I wanted to mention about that. And then Devesh did ask me to touch on a little bit about what it's like at a larger university. So I think with a larger university, you just have more choices, breadth of choices. And when I say choices, I'm talking about options for different majors or different minors. Where else could you go and get a minor in HARE, HARE? And you say, what is HARE? Human-animal relationships. So, all kinds of interesting programs. So the breadth of majors, the breadth of clubs and organizations to join, we have a critical mass of students, so we can support many different fun activities for you to participate in outside the classroom. Also, I think a larger operating budget, more programming on campus. You'll find, um, major concerts. I was driving to work this morning and I had my car radio on and I heard a couple songs and I was like, oh yeah, that band, we had a concert by them, 2 years ago on campus. And so, huge events like that, comedians, coming to campus, guest lectures, but also one thing that's quite unique would be the major sporting events on campus. There's a ton of school spirit here and at places similar to TCU. Um, and, so many of our athletes are looking at playing professionally in their careers, and so it's a lot of fun to have major sporting events on campus. And of course, in this pandemic that we're all embroiled in, although not everything, I might not go to all the athletic events on campus, but luckily at a school like ours, we can watch it all on television. And even when I'm traveling in Asia and India, I've been able to stream sporting events live on my computer. And so those are some of the kinds of features that you might find at a bigger university. Again, choices in different kinds of dorms, different kinds of food to eat, and so on. And so, as you're looking at universities, check out all types. Amazing small liberal arts colleges like Union, mid-sized universities like TCU, check out a couple of big ones too. There's no right or wrong, there's no best environment. It's just, there are just different options for you to consider. And that's all I'm going to say right now, and I'll tune back in a few minutes after Devesh goes over some more details on the Next Genius program.
Thank you so much, Karen and Nicole, for sharing about your universities and helping students understand the difference between how studying engineering at a small liberal arts college versus experience at a bigger university would be. So moving on, I'll quickly take all of you through the Next Genius application process, and then oh, 1 second. Okay, so I'll quickly take all of you through the Next Genius application process, and then I'll invite again Karen and Nicole to talk about how they select the scholars. So the application for the Next Genius Scholarship Program is already open now. All of you, some of you have already registered. Some of you who have not yet registered can go on our website, nextgenius.com, or you can simply search Next Genius on Google and the page pops up. So just fill an online form. Once you fill the online form, you will get a link to take the online test. The online critical thinking assessment is what Vishal was talking about. It's a brief test which has 18 questions. I enjoy solving those. These are mostly math and English puzzles. Following the test, you will participate in the next step, where you actually, the next step is where you share your college preferences with us, right? You tell us about which all colleges you're interested in. We ask you to submit a form which is called as the level 2 form, where you submit your top 3 college choices. So and then during that period also, between August and October, we actually connect with you multiple times. Next Genius connects with you. One of the Next Genius scholars connect with you for a video interview. That's what we call multi-mini interview. So that happens in October. Somewhere after October, you are allocated a college of your choice. So you basically submit 3 colleges, 3 college preferences, and in most cases, you get your first choice. However, in some cases, you also get your second choice of college. So you finally get a college allocated to yourself. So you can then start working on your college application, and finally between November and December, you submit that college application. So by 15 December, you should have submitted all the pieces of your college application, which includes your Common App, your test scores if you have taken any, your English proficiency scores, your teachers and counselors should have submitted the recommendation letters and transcripts. Finally, after you have submitted everything, you come to Mumbai for interviews in January, and that's when all the proceedings of the interview take place. So here's how now I'll invite Nicole and Karen to share about what they look for when they are deciding the next senior scholarships.
Yes. Hello. So, well, actually, I feel like Vishal did a great job of kind of talking about what universities are looking at. He said, "Be yourself," and you know, that's his mantra, and I would say I agree with that. Be yourself, show yourself. But just in the actual application process itself, you know, we do, before we get to the interview day, we are closely looking at your applications, and I would say that most of the universities that participate in the Next Genius program practice what we call holistic review. So we look at all aspects of your application. As Vishal said, it's not just your marks, although of course your marks are important. You know, we're all going to be looking at your standard 10 board exam results. You know, we're looking at various testing, whether it be SATs, IELTS, TOEFL. You know, we'll be looking at things like that. But also the more personal things, your essays, the short answer responses. Many of us have, you know, short answer questions. You know, on our application, it says, you know, what makes TCU a great fit for you? You know, those kinds of things. You know, spend plenty of time on those essays, and I know you've got good academic support at Fitchie College, so that's great, and also Next Genius is helping with that. But you know, make sure that you're putting forth your best work on your essays. But same thing with the short answer responses on the application; those should be just as polished and professional, and you know, using good grammar and so forth. You know, those should be just as polished as your essays. But so then once we get to the actual interview day, you know, we've seen your applications, we feel like we know you. And Next Genius, you know, I know last year they did a great job of helping us, have space to meet with students the night before the interviews. So we, know that going into this, you've already been screened. All right. So you're all great students. As Vishal said, he was excited about meeting many brilliant minds. So all the students in that room are have brilliant minds. So we just want to see what makes you special. We're looking at, how you act in a group setting. How do you treat your peers? We're looking at collaboration. I think Nicole and I, we talked yesterday, and we're both looking at very similar kinds of things. Are you respectful of your peers? Do you, how do you lead a group? And leading sometimes means being a good listener, building your peers up, helping your peers be successful, being kind to other people, and being a good listener. You don't always have to be the center of attention to be a good leader. And I know I've seen some students in the past in that group setting really try to dominate to the detriment of their peers. And generally, at least for us and for me personally, I'm not looking for someone to dominate, and we want to see that you're open to other ideas. So those are some of the kinds of things that we're looking for, and I specifically am looking for. Nicole, did you have anything to add to that?
Thanks, Karen. I think you captured it really well. I think Vishal did a nice job talking about too. Mostly what we're trying to do is create a environment of fun and enjoyment, right? So that you have a chance to really be relaxed enough, that we have a chance to get to see and know more about who you are and what you would do on our campus in terms of what sort of presence you would have on our campus. And so we think that all of you are likely very fantastic, but what do you bring to our community? So I think you captured that very, very well. I just want to reiterate with Karen again, that for you to be really considered when you come to the selection, your application has to be complete. So if you have not completed all of your requirements, financial aid being a portion of that. So if you're applying for financial aid, you must have your financial aid documents in and complete for us to consider you as a candidate for Next Genius. If you are not able to get something like a teacher recommendation, please let us know. But if anything is not complete in your application, and all of us have excellent application portals where you can check the status of your application. If you are not sure or you haven't completed, you should be in contact with us, because an incomplete application will mean even if you come to the selection, you are not eligible to be considered unless your application is complete. So I really just can't stress enough that by the deadline, please have all your application documents in, because it gives us just a very short window to review everything before we reach the selection.
Yeah, and I would, I echo that. And I know I've in the past had students literally on the interview day walk up and give me that last document we were missing. And that just does not set a very good tone. You don't want to be that person racing up to us. Here, ma'am, here, I have my last recommendation letter. And I also wanted to touch a little bit on finances, because many of us are looking at not only your academic and your personal background, but also your financial resources. And we want to make sure that you're going to be a good fit for our universities in terms of what your financial resources are compared to how much funding each we as a university might be able to offer you. And so although and that's the least fun part of our jobs, but it's the reality of what we have to look at. And be honest with us. I think sometimes when people present their financial resources to universities, we see different kinds of things happening. We have some students will state that I can afford everything because they think that will help them get admitted, when in fact they can't afford everything. Or they say, I can afford nothing. And that's a little, that can be problematic as well, because we don't offer full funding financial aid that covers room and board and everything. We give up to the value of tuition. I think that's the case for most of the universities. And so just be honest with us, not just on interview day, but leading up to it, with when our discussions, we're real people, and Vishal talked about the interview process. It was actually fun. And I know that students who have gone through unions interviews have said exactly the same thing. And I think really for all the universities, it's kind of fun once you get into it and see what it's like. So we're real people. Talk to us.
That's great. Thank you so much, Karen and Nicole. And we are almost coming to the end of the call, and I have so many questions that the students are asking. So I'll just club a couple of those and ask both of you to answer. The first question is, how much importance do you give to the grade 10 and 11 scores, right? And the second one is, how important are the SAT and ACT scores, and how are you going to look at those scores in the absence of, if some students have not been able to take these exams? Does it, reduce their chances of getting a scholarship? So.
Sure. Those are good questions. So typically in a normal year, this is not a normal year, but in a normal year at Union, and I'm not sure if Karen is the same at TCU, but we look at your grade 10 board exams. We really don't look at grade 11 progress reports because often they're not reflective of your progress or status in terms of what you will finally achieve. So often in the calculations, your grade 11 is not as reflective always of what you will achieve. So grade 10 board, and then we need something to fill in the difference. And so typically that's SAT or ACT, but understanding that that's not always possible going forward in this current situation. So if students are able to take that at home, or not at home, but are able to take that in their home country, that's fine. Knowing this year that might not be possible, Duolingo has some good options just to show a level of language assessment, and allows us to get a good grip on what you're able to do. There are also opportunities to do a TOEFL at home if you'd like to demonstrate your English ability. And I'd say for students in the Indian boards, this is a place where Next Genius really allows you and sets you up to be successful, because the things that fill in the distance between grade 10 and now is that we get to interview you. We get to hear about your academic curiosity. We get to learn more about the things that you're interested in. And I'd say that your application and your recommendation letters and that interview really can fill in some understanding that might be missing in terms of your transcripts, just by basis of how they're structured. So I'd say that those pieces really allow us to fill in some of the void. Karen, did you want to add anything to that?
Just that, and I think there was actually a question about TCU SAT requirements in the chat. We normally do require the SAT on the application, but because of the difficulties this year in testing, we will be SAT optional next year for the 2021 batch. But other than that, I think we're very similar. We do need something if English is not your native language. So if, that could be the SAT or IELTS or TOEFL. But otherwise, I think you're right on. Standard 10 boards, most important for us as well.
Great. Okay, this one is for Vishal. Vishal, how was your transition from preparing for JEE and then actually shifting your focus from JEE to education abroad or going to the US?
Yeah, it was actually challenging because in FITSI, the core importance is given to preparing for JEE and preparing for IIT exams. So it was a little challenging, but we get to schedule our time according to our classes. So we get to arrange a class after we complete preparing for JEE. Then we do a 1 hour class for SAT or be it IELTS. So it's all about adjusting time according to that. And for me personally, I was actually I decided it earlier because I from the start it was my main goal was to go abroad. So yes, I had to uh, skip some JE classes, but then yeah, it was fine for me. I only went to JE classes because I wanted to gain knowledge from that. So in my case, that's how it went.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Um, uh, does TCU or Union offer something in a game design? Do you have a game designing major?
No, not TCU.
Okay.
Yeah, so for us, it's not a major in game design, but our students within our computer science program can focus their efforts towards game design and the work that they're doing.
Okay. And I'm getting more questions about SAT, ACT. I think the students are really concerned about what's going to happen. Uh, the two questions here are, is there any special preference for students who take ACT or SAT? And does the students who have SAT scores it's basically the same question, get more preference for students who don't take their SATs?
I'd say again, I don't know that it's preference. I think you just have to work a little harder to convey the full scope of your academics, because there's nothing really after board 10 that gives us a sense of what you're doing. So it just depends on what you're able to provide. Whether you have an amazing counselor, is he willing to help reflect on your achievement through the counselor letter of recommendation? Are there teachers who can talk about your progress? And predicted results are definitely an important part of that, if predicted is an option. Otherwise, it really, you just have to do a little bit more in terms of reaching out to connect through the interview, really providing through your application the work that you're doing, and demonstrate sort of your abilities. So I think, and then again, like I said, there's Duolingo for English assessment, or TOEFL, IELTS. I mean, both of those are doing opportunities at home as well. So I think for students, SAT, along with along with your board results, that's easier. It's but if it's not possible, it's not like it's not possible to be considered realistically for admission. It happens all the time. You just have to do a few more things to just get some clarity on where you're at, what your progress is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and again, yeah, I think Nicole summarized it well for both of us. And I did want to mention before the seminar ends that in the chat, I just put in a link to join our mailing list. So, because I know several of you had very school-specific questions, so join our mailing list. I'm also going to type my email in here. Yeah.
Great.
Are there other questions, Devesh, that you'd like us to answer?
Yes. I just I want both of you to take one last question, which is there something which made a candidate stand out during the interview? Is there something that they said or something that they did which made someone stand out during the interview?
Gosh, there's so many things. I think I've had several students stand out to me just for their kind of their sense of humor. Trying to think what actually, I had one student who actually, it wasn't during the interview, it was before the interview, that a student, this was a beer, this is my first year with Next Genius, but he started communicating with us before the interviews. And I remember a few days before we were departing, he sent the Dean of Admissions and me a message just saying, well, I wanted you to know that, the weather right now, it's acting really strange and it's been really hot. And, I don't even remember what it was, but he was saying, now be sure you bring the appropriate clothes. And I mean, that's a very simple thing, but he was just kind and genuine. And we both, we laughed and we thought that was really actually very helpful advice.
Okay. Nicole, do you want to add to that anything that made a student stand out from the?
Well,
from the-
I think oftentimes students feel like standing out means that they have to have all the answers and, be the first to the answer. And I think that at our communities, especially in the US, there's space for everyone. So really we want to look for students, as Karen said before, who engage with their entire community around them. And so Vishal also spoke to this. How do you engage with the other students in the room? How do you make space not only for your voice to be heard, but others? How do you support that community? And I'd say that the students who rise up for us at Union really are those who lead in that way. They join in their community, they learn from their community of students, they add something to the conversation, but they also support others in the conversation as well. And so I think, again, the point is not always just having the answer, but sort of how you fit within that community and participate in that community.
Wonderful. So I would just wait another 2 minutes and I would request all of you to just click on the 2 links that are provided so that you can add yourself to the mailing list with the colleges, and also copy the 2 email IDs of Karen and Nicole. And I know there are a few more questions, and in the interest of the time and closing this webinar on the time, I would request you to email these questions to us or to Karen and Nicole if these are university specific questions. Yeah, great. So
Thank you, Devesh, for hosting us.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Yes.
And Karen and Vishal. Thank you for coming, and thank you again, Venkat sir, for inviting us and for planning to host this webinar for your students at Fiji.
Yes, best of luck to all of you. We hope to see some of you next January. But before then, send us a message, send us emails.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Go Frogs.
For us.
Yay.